Hello and welcome to Call to Arms, and thank you for answering the call. Welcome to another episode of Battlecry, where we chat about all things Warhammer. And joined again by Nathan. How are we doing, Nathan?
Doing all right.
Good, yeah. Good to see you again,
Back
man.
again.
Back again, yeah.
3 times inside of a week.
Oh, I know,
Almost.
right? I'm spending more time with you than maybe your good lady wife.
Aye.
Should be so lucky. So welcome, guys. I'm your host, as ever, DJ. And yeah, we're going to be chatting about Battlescroll tonight and everything that brings with it. So we've got the Battlescroll changes and also the FAQ updates as well. So yeah, should be a good wee chat tonight. Please make sure before we get started to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please get commenting down below as well. We're hopefully going to be able to catch everything, all the kind of new updates tonight. But as always, if you do miss anything at all, please let us know down below in the comments, and we'll be sure to rectify that. So yeah, quite a big kind of time. So Battlescroll just squeaked in at the end of the month, at the end of just at the end of October. They said it would be October, and it was October. Just
wrong.
exactly. But yeah, it's something that I know that a lot of people were waiting for. I know there was a lot of people that were kind of probably holding off on certain armies or lists because they wanted to see what changes were going to happen. You know, if maybe some powerful unit that they were taking was going to get nerfed somehow. But yeah, there seems to be maybe a wee bit of change on the breeze, and we're hoping to kind of delve into that tonight and yeah, just make people aware of it and yeah, just have a general kind of chat about it. Overall, have you found the changes to be quite impactful? And yeah, how have you found it, Nathan?
Yeah, I think that it's encouraging to see that they're making changes.
Yeah.
I don't think they went very far with any of their changes, really. Like, I wouldn't say that anything was like in danger of being over the top. Yeah. You can tell that they're kind of worried about maybe going over the top, and maybe this is the right kind of stance to take with these 3 monthly updates. They wait for the General's Handbook to be their kind of big, here's a new way to play the game, and then every sort of 3 months they'll tone something down slightly. I don't know if any of the changes are going to be that impactful on the meta. I think the biggest one will be the Incarnate, but when we get to that, I don't think it'll. I don't think it'll be. It's not going to affect the win rate of those armies. I don't think that much.
No, I think
I think list building is going to be a bit less enjoyable for people that want to include one, but I don't think that their list will be that much less potent by not including it. By still including it.
Absolutely. I think we'll have a wee chat a bit more in depth as we get to the Incarnate. But yeah, I think I would agree that the overall changes, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are changes, there are a lot of changes, but were they impactful enough? I think I tend to agree that I don't think so. I don't think they, to kind of coin the term, I don't think they kind of moved the needle or, on a lot of these armies, as you say, their win rates and what have you, and kind of the top ones that be doing really, really well. I don't know if the changes have brought them in line with some of the other ones, and I don't think the ones that weren't performing as well, I don't know if that's brought them in line, you know, that secret kind of fat middle that they're looking for. But we'll have a look at the changes regardless, and we'll see any kind of wee bits that we like or anything that we notice that are quite good. So yeah, let's just dive in, shall we? So
sure.
Here we are. We've got the Battlescroll PDF, and yeah. So all the changes I really like this. They've highlighted all the changes in magenta. So that's the only kind of things that we need to care about right now. So yeah, we'll just get rattling through. So the first thing that we notice is the purple sun. Now that's not really a kind of recent change. That was something that was brought out before Battlescroll, but they've included it again here, which again is just talking about how the sun's gone up in points and its ability has changed. So we've already kind of had I think we've already chatted about how we think that's maybe not going to affect that scroll as much. So I don't think we need to really spend much time on that. I think people that want to take sun will still find a way to take sun, and that's fine. So then the next thing we're going to look at is Beasts of Chaos. Now, Beasts of Chaos, this is a faction that has been seeing some really good win rates. With their, they had a very recent White Dwarf update, which gave them quite a lot of juice, and so we see maybe a welcome change here. Again, I don't know how impactful it's going to be. So we've got the change the Primal Roar, Monstrous Rampage from White Dwarf. So on a dice, so you roll a dice, it's a Monstrous Rampage, roll a dice on a 3-up, you receive 1 Primordial Call point. Now I believe that it used to be on a 3-up you receive 1 point, but on a 6 you can receive D3, is that correct?
I think so. Yeah,
I think that sounds right.
I've spoken to a few people that play Beast of Chaos, and of course they are quite quick to say, "Oh, this is like a big nerf." I don't personally think it is a big nerf.
I don't think it's a big nerf either.
But it's certainly something. It stops it spiking.
Yeah.
But I don't think their win rate is because they spiked the Primordial Call points. Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody out there, and there could be somebody out there that only rolls 6s for this roll, maybe it's a massive nerf for that person. But
huge.
In terms, but yeah, I think I agree. Overall, I think it's something. It's something, but I don't think it's going to change much. I think you're going to still get a decent Primordial Call engine, what with your Hearthstone plus some monster doing this every turn as well.
It feels like it should be heroic action and not
a monstrous rampage.
Not a monstrous rampage. Yeah.
So at least there's some sort of kind of you have to give up something to get it. But now you don't really need to give up, because really, what's just a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth sitting right at the back corner next to the Hearthstone or whatever that's just getting this, rolling this every single...
itself, healing itself,
yeah, exactly.
And then just roaring at the sky.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, true. So that's our first change. So so yeah, cool. Next up, we've got Orc War Clans. Now I think this one here. So we've got Swamp Caller Shaman and Potgrot. So this is for our Cruel Boys. So you basically you just to remove the text for the Poisons and Elixirs ability. So before it, you used to have to choose. So this guy's a wizard, so you'd have to choose between casting or passing off the buff to the mortal wounds on a unit. Now you can do both.
Yep, this is a really good change.
Yeah,
so I played against. I've played against the Cruel Boys a couple of times, and I've heard from a few Cruel Boys players that forgot that the Swamp Caller Shaman was actually a wizard in the first place, because he was built into lists to buff up a unit with their poisons.
Yeah.
And they just forgot that they had the option to cast a spell. So the fact that they can now do both, I think, is really good. It's a big change.
100%, yeah. So yeah, you kind of, I don't know, you must feel pretty bad as a Cruel Boy player. You're putting maybe 1 or 2 wizards in, and they're just never casting spells because they're always just buffing the poison. So now they can do both. I think that's really good. I think that's really nice. And I think Cruel Boys definitely need some
as well.
Yeah, I think that they do need some help, certainly. And this now opens up the fact that you can cast some spells. They've got some decent spells, do they not? They've not got that.
They've got some okay ones.
That mist one, which means you reduce the number of attacks charge or something like that. Or is it -1 charge? Yeah, it opens
board
up
wide,
options.
-1 charge for the enemies.
That's awesome.
And it's -1 something else.
Yeah, I think it's -1 attack within like a certain range as well.
They've got you pick a point in the battlefield, I think, and then anything that moves within range of that gets debuffed as well.
Yeah.
I think they've got a couple of spells that can get rid of armor saves or ward saves and stuff as well. I think it's a ward save removal, which could be pretty cool for them.
Yeah.
And then I think it is mentioned here from the last update, but they've got the can't be shot within 12. It can't be shot from outside of 12.
Yeah.
Which is big as well.
Is it the grinning
In
something?
fact, I think it's there. Grinning Blades. Changed it out of the mist ability to friendly Grinning Blades units are not visible to enemy models that are more than 12 away from them. So you can position the Bolt Boys in such a way that you're never going to get within 12 of them if you're one of these teleporting shoot units. So yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool.
Cool. So hopefully we might see some more cool boys in the table, which is always good to
Yep.
see. I think it's a faction that's been maybe struggling since its inception, so to see more of that I think would be good. Speaking of a faction that's been struggling, we've got a wee change for Gits. So Gloomspite
Yes.
Gits. We've got add the following to the notes section of the Arachnarok Spider with Spider-Fang War Party, pitched battle profile. They get battle line if the general is Spider-Fang. So Sean McKechnie will be happy with this one.
Yeah.
He's got a big spider army, and yeah, so it gives you monster battle line, and yeah, I think it's pretty fun. Again, I don't know how good it's going to be, but it's cool if you're
Yeah.
running Spider-Fang. If you're running Spider-Fang, then yeah, I think it's
If you
pretty
want
cool.
to run big monster battle line,
Mm-hmm.
as some people do,
Yeah,
then yeah, it's all good.
absolutely. Yeah,
Probably not one of the better iterations of it, but still cool that you can do it.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that that'll maybe get few folks kind of gets juices flowing potentially. Those
It'll,
spider
in,
models are cool.
it'll increase their representation for
Mm-hmm.
their internal balance thing.
Yeah.
So it's a good change in that metric because nobody would ever include the Ragnarok Spider with the Spider Farm War Party
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So like that must have been a scroll that they were looking through their internal balance. So like
Mm-hmm.
this has just never been taken. So at least now for the pure people wanting to test it, you'll
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it is good that they are at least honing in on some of these factions and going, what can we do here that would
Yeah.
be cool, flavour of the army, then also could help the balance of the army as well. And speaking of the devil, we've got Sean in live chat right now saying he's quite happy with that one, but he doesn't want to buy another
It is.
7 large spiders. But yeah,
Why not?
he was saying you can fit about 8 large, you can fit about 8 big spiders into the list, which I'd love to see that. That would be
It
so
would look
fun.
cool. They're
That
one
would
of
look
the
very
best
cool.
older monster
Yes.
kits that are around.
Yeah,
Like
no, they.
JP's was
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
He had one like dangling upside down from the
Yeah.
web and stuff. You could do some really cool things with them. Like all
100%.
the legs can be quite easily reposed.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
that's cool.
absolutely, yeah. And that's it. No, I'm only joking.
Yep.
No, that is it. Yeah. So in terms of updates to just the battle scroll.
Mhm.
That's our whack, as they say. We've still got all the existing updates as well on there. So yeah, we've not lost anything, but we've gained a couple of things. So now we get on to the real meat
Yes.
and potatoes, the points. Okay, so we've seen a decent swathe of points changes across a number of different factions. Some factions were completely untouched. Clearly, they felt that they were fine because maybe they're sitting in that nice kind of mid range for their faction win rate. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, we're going to go through each one, and all I'd like to do really is I'll have like a very quick read through it, and then we'll maybe just have a wee vote of whether we think that it was a hit. We think that has actually had an impactful change on the faction, or whether we think it was a miss, like it's not actually done much at all. Okay,
Cool.
so first of all, we've got Cities of Sigmar, some cities. So we've got 5 changes here. So we've got the Charybdis down 20 points, we've got the War Hydra down 20 points, we've got the Dreadlord and Black Dragon down 20 points, Sorceress and Black Dragon down 20 points, and Executioners down 20 points. So what do we think, Nathan? Do we think hit or do we think miss? I think I'm going to vote miss on this one.
I'm gonna just to be like contrary to you, I'm gonna say it's a hit. I
Love it.
don't think that there was really I don't think there was really much in the cities book that was crying out for points reduction.
Hmm.
I think that they're still a very potent army if you consider where they are in their win rate and the fact that they do have high A tier capable armies that they
Hmm.
can take. And from my short dalliance into cities over the last year or so, there has been times where I've been looking to make a list and I've been going, right, I want to get a cheap monstrous action in here.
Hmm.
And I was looking at things like the War Hydra and Charybdis to be able to do
Wow.
that. So
Wow.
like just to roar something's really good. Like people just
Yeah.
don't take it into account, but being able to shut off a command ability could be pretty cool. And for 130 points,
Yeah. To get a
like
12
that's
wound 12 wound monster with 4 up save.
it heals itself and
Hmm.
stuff as well. Like I think I was messing about with Harkeron builds and it fits into the Harkeron.
You were just
And I
you were just
thought,
eyeing up the vitriolic spray spell, weren't you, Nathan? Trying to make that
yeah,
work somehow.
definitely.
Definitely. Yeah,
But
make
no,
make
like
save
I think
dash.
that it's not terrible. I don't think the reductions to the Black Dragons is going to be enough for people to consider it over the Griffins, just because
Yeah,
the mount trait that you get for the Griffins, the Soaring Guardian, the 2+ you come back alive with D3 wins is just
so good.
so much better.
Yeah.
Executioners can pump a bit as well, I think. So
I just don't think I just don't think that any of these points changes are meaningful enough to make any of these scrolls viable. I think that okay, cool. If you've got people out there that really like the Dark Elf kind of
mhm,
models, those models, and they want to run more stuff, then yeah, it certainly helps them out. But I don't think so. Executioners, for example, then yeah, they do mortals on sixes to hit, right? So that's kind of decent. I think they get access to running charge within some builds as well. It depends on what you take, but I just think there are. It's so funny when six came out. It was like there was these in every faction race. There was a unit that had sixes to hit do mortals.
yep.
So it was like dwarf hammerers, the executioners. God, I can't even mind what the elfie one was. But or maybe there wasn't. But they just seemed that there were so many of these units that all filled the exact same role. So all you had to do
Mhm,
was find the one that was the most points efficient and just run that, or find the
yeah.
one that had the most internal synergies along with the best probably sub factions within the book as well. And
Mhm,
your sub factions like Harkeron and the internal synergies within the Darkling covens just did not cut the mustard in comparison to the dwarven stuff, the elven stuff,
yeah.
and I just don't think they still do. But as I say, it's good that they're getting points decreases for these things because you just don't see them on the table. It might help that, but yeah,
Yeah.
as I say, that's why I kind of put this as a miss. I just don't think you'll see any changes along with this. Um, so yeah, so Sean was saying the Wild Sisters. Yeah, the Elf Bows they did mortals on sixes to hit or something maybe. I think with their shots.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cities. Okay, cool. Moving on. Seraphon. Now we saw some points changes here and not losing points but gaining points. So Engine of the Gods, which sees a lot of play, up 20 points. Lord Croak, which we're seeing a lot of play now as well, up 20 points. The Saurus Astrath Bearer, up 15. Skink Priest, up 30 points for the Skink Priest. Slan Star Master, up 20. And then we've got a couple of reductions. We've got the Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur, down 20. And the, oh bless him, Skink Oracle on Troglodon, down 20 as well. Okay, so do we think hit or do we think miss for this one? I'll let you vote first this time.
I think miss.
And I agree.
Yeah. I think
um,
all of the points changes are good,
mhm.
other than the Engine of the Gods, in my opinion. Like, I think the Engine of the Gods should have went up prohibitively, like 80 to 100 points, like they did with the Kronspine. I have
Mm,
not seen one Seraphon list in the last 2 years that hasn't had an Engine of the Gods in it.
yeah,
It's in every single list. And then if you look at the reductions there, the Old Blood on Carnosaur and the Troglodon got put to 250. It's only 35 more points for the engine. That's a
yeah,
priest
yeah,
and can be made a wizard with Arcane Tome like they can as well, but it's a
yeah,
priest
yeah, yeah.
and it can summon
Hmm.
and it can like it should be very expensive
Yeah,
for that unit.
yeah.
Um, I'm surprised to not see a points increase for the Bastiladon. I'm trying to remember if they did get a points increase at the same time as Salamanders did when the last
Do
HD
you know
came
what?
out,
I
but
don't think they did. I think they've been sitting
I
pretty for
think they,
some time. Yeah.
they could afford to go up a little bit as well. Not much, 10, 15 points maybe. Make it
Yeah.
awkward for list building because you're seeing lists with like two or three of them. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think that they could have seen a points increase as well.
Hmm.
But the Engine of the Gods has like that what's happened is that the points increases are so little that they just take out the superfluous purple sun that they had.
Yeah.
Like they didn't need it.
Hmm.
It's gone now. They don't have access to +1 to rend or -1 armor save,
Yeah.
and it's the same army.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was just a nothing change in my opinion. It's not made list building any more challenging whatsoever for them.
No. I think when you look at the broad scope of the entire list, I think that most lists, I mean, what they're going to be going up by about maybe 100 points or so,
Mhm.
and for something like that. So you're just saying, yeah, so if they did have Sun, they're just going to take that out. So that's 90 points gone already.
Yep.
Cool. And that was just a nice to have. It wasn't really a required part of the the list engine, as it were. Or you could just take a little hero out, or you could take a little, I don't know, unit of skinks out, whatever. Whatever was in the list. I think, yeah, people are going to know exactly, like, yep, that's going to come out, and I'm going to take basically the exact same list.
It might make them a little less effective. I suppose it does have an impact on things like the rend that the Bastiladons are shooting with,
Mhm.
etc. So
Yeah,
maybe they
it's
will
true.
be a little bit less potent against some armies, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's anywhere near enough.
No. Yep. Agreed. Okay, so Seraphon players, I think they should be pretty happy. I think they got off
Oh yeah,
not
they got
bad
off
there
scot-free.
at all. They always get off scot free. Right, next Stormcast. So huge. We've
Yes.
got lots of points.
Yep.
Decreases here. So we've got Vanquishers down 15. Aventus Firestrike. Everyone's favourite Lord Arcanum. He's down
Yep.
40 points. A Knight Relictor, so that's the Knight, not the Lord, who I think has always played second fiddle to the Lord because he used to only be 5 points cheaper and the Lord was so much better than him. He's down 20
Yep.
points, so that's not bad.
Hmm.
Andrasta's down 40. Karazai the Scarred, so one of the big dragon duo, he's down 40. Down 50, sorry.
Yep.
Krondus, he's down 50. Annihilator's
Hmm.
down 20. Praetor's down 20. And Vigilor's down 25. So I think I know what I'm going to vote for this one. I think I'm going to vote a hit.
Yep.
I'm going to vote a hit.
I can tell you exactly how many lists
Mm.
I've written. I have written. Come on, get out the Gloomspite gets lists. Uh, I've 6, 7, 8. I've written 10 Stormcast lists since these points changes.
Oh my god.
Um,
You're a madman.
they're really good changes. They seem
Mm-hmm.
really small on the
Yeah.
face of it, but I was playing Vanquishers anyway,
Yep.
so them coming
You are, yeah.
down and they're replacing Liberators, that has changed up a lot of the lists that I'm looking at. The Knight Relictor is a really good change as well because
Mm-hmm.
the Lord Relictor is 145 points.
Yep.
So it was only a 5 points difference. Now being
Yep.
25 points difference, you can make him your general to give him the reroll prayers, and it's a
Yep.
3+ with a reroll versus a 2+ with a reroll.
So still,
It's still more than often you're going to
yeah,
pass a
still
3+
reliable. Yeah, yeah.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And because things like Thunderbolt Volley got changed in the last update to
That's
be
right, yeah.
non-reinforced units, it's not your main strategy anymore. It's like a nice to have. It's a little bit of flex to be able to like translocate and shoot or translocate and charge with +2.
Yeah.
It never has been the kind of the core of your army. So taking 25 points off it that way, taking 45 points off of your battle line, changing them to Vanquishers, it adds up. The
Mm-hmm.
Annihilators change is really good as well
Yeah.
because the Grand Hammers being better rend and +1 damage has meant that they were the ones that were taken for the kind of Imperatant, Deep Strike, and Slam. But Annihilators with the shields being on a 2+ save, I've only played one game with the list so far since the change, but
Mm-hmm.
they can get into sticky situations.
Yeah.
Deep strike them in, they get the same mortals on the charge.
Yep.
They're still rend 1 damage 2.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them into bounty hunters and stuff so they can be damage 3. You just put them into different targets
Yeah.
and they're just as effective, if not more so, just being stuck
Yeah.
there on an objective, can't shift them.
I've always
So
been a fan, and maybe not a fan, but just like anytime I've seen Annihilators on the table, I've always just been, that's just a really great unit. It's a great unit.
they
Like
are good.
I mean, there was I think it was Sinky. He played a list and it was 6 of the hammers and bounty hunters. That's terrifying,
They do
absolutely
ridiculous
terrifying.
damage.
Especially if you pick the right storm host to really maximise the offensive output as well.
Mhm.
And then your 2-up save boys, just like unless you've got some Unless you've got mortal wounds or something with such high rend, like as you're right, they
Yep.
can just survive, they just stick around. So
Get
I've,
them
I've
onto a bit of scenery, all out defense.
yep.
They're on a 0 up save.
I've always
Like
been
they're
always been
really good.
happy with how Annihilators play, I think, and now they're just getting even better with the points change. Now let's talk about the two big boys. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Karazai and
a couple of
Krondus,
lists with them
because
too.
that's the thing we're seeing. I think we're seeing Krondus. We're seeing Krondus in some lists,
Seen Crandus a
and I've
lot.
seen Karazai maybe come up in a couple, because he's just kind of like your big damage dealer dragon. Krondus is the one with the kind of insane magic buffs and what have you,
Hmm.
and the fact they've now both come down in points. I just think they're looking way more, and the fact that sun's now changed as well, and they can't get sunned off the board.
Yep.
I think they're just a lot of these big monster, these kind of centerpiece models are seeing a bit of an uptick now,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think they're just good.
I think you're going to see a lot more Crondus initially,
Hmm.
just because his War Scroll is more. You gravitate towards that before you gravitate towards Karazai, because with Karazai you really need to build a package around him. Crondus can kind of do his own thing because he's got that magic
Yeah.
ability. But Karazai, like there was a couple of good lists, mostly floating out from the other side of the world,
Hmm.
where people were basically just souping up a Karazai. They had a unit of the Praetors, which also got cheaper,
Yep.
bodyguard in them.
For the bodyguard. Yep.
I think that list was already good. I think it went 5-0 or at least 4-1 on a couple of occasions anyway. In the
Yep.
right hands, it was a good army.
Hmm.
And I think that it's going to be even better now.
Yeah.
Like just swapping, I think the list in question had Sequitors as a battle line. So
Hmm.
just swapping them to Vanquishers is 30 points, the Praetors down 20, Karazai down 50. Like it adds up. Like
Absolutely. You
you're
can
gonna
get
be able to
another
get some
unit
cool
in.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
exactly.
that's awesome.
To an
So no,
already good
yeah,
army.
yeah. So there we go. Gets Nathan's 10 list stamp of approval.
Hmm.
Okay, moving on. Beasts of Chaos, the old Bok. Ready to vote?
Next. Yeah. Pick.
Huge. How did they are they not the most they're not the most winningest army right now?
They're definitely one of them. I
Right.
think that depending on who you ask and what version of the stats you look at, it's
Yeah.
either Seraphon or Beasts
Okay.
at the moment. Like, but Beasts of Chaos, Dragon Ogres are still far too cheap,
Yep.
and their allegiance hasn't been nerfed.
Can't believe it's still 145 for three. And
For
how
15
many?
wins,
Yeah, 5 wind models, and you're saying 8 attacks each
yep,
with rend, and the rend increases and a 4-up rally. Like it's still there. That's an amazing unit. So it's
yep,
like they've kind of went the right. We get it, guys. We know dragon ogres are an issue. We'll just here you go. We'll give you kind of 20 points there. It's just I just like that's not enough. It's not enough. What?
definitely not
Also,
enough.
cockatrice up 15. Like,
Yeah,
so not a
like
lot.
there's
So not more scrolls that are within that kind of Beast of Chaos wheelhouse that maybe need a bit more of a look at than a cockatrice.
so I think that we can be thankful for that change in a way
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think that there really was anything that was the same as Dragon Ogres. Do you know what I mean? So I think that if
Okay.
they were to put the points up on something else, it would just make them better. Like say
Yeah.
if they went okay, Bestigors are now 5 points cheaper,
Yeah.
then people are all of a sudden getting more Bestigor in their army.
Yeah.
I think that Dragon Ogres are still the way you build the list. You maybe just have 15 less wounds in your army
Yeah.
when the points add up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know we were speaking just before the show, I've seen John Bayliss's most recent list. He's dropped his Cron Spine,
Yeah.
and instead of a Cron Spine, he's got 3 more Dragon Ogres and 3 more Enlightened, and the list is the
It's
same.
just like what points increase. It's fine. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it. It's cool. Yeah.
because that's one thing as well. They can benefit from the new War Scrolls that Zinch have got
That's the
as
thing.
well
So
with
you can get
the
that's
Zangors and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, Zangors Enlightened. Yeah.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. Like I think Dragon Ogres, yes, very good wall scroll, but don't forget Beasts have also got access to. You just mentioned them, Bestigor. They've got Zangor. They've got Enlightened. They've got Enlightened on
Yep.
disc. Like these are all, I think, really good scrolls that they all
Really
have
good
access
scrolls.
to, and they all now have access to a 4-up rally and an extra pipper end. Like
Yeah. 4-up rally is something that they're given to armies that are struggling. So Gloomspite gets got a 4-up rally in the last Battlescroll update. Hedonites of Slaanesh get given a 5-up rally.
Yeah.
They're armies that are still hanging around the 45% mark.
Yeah.
I honestly was expecting them to say, let's remove the 4+ rally. Because it's a White Dwarf. They've updated White Dwarf articles. You could have just removed that one line, left the rest of the Herdstone the same. But the 4+ rally is what is egregious for them. They're too good to need it right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that should have changed. Maybe it will in the next one.
You never know.
They could try them out at 5+ instead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But as you say at the start, with the fact that we've got these 3 monthly updates, then yeah, there's maybe more scope where they can just very slowly bring in these different levels of change and then see how it affects, rather than one big massive thing and everyone kind of comes away from it. And
like at the moment, we're in an age where they can get access to +1 damage being in bounty hunters. So if the next General's Handbook removes bounty hunters, then that goes some way towards removing the efficiency that Dragon Ogres have at the moment. So maybe that is enough of a change to knock them off of the top of the totem pole. But for the until that book comes out, they're still there.
Yeah, for right now, they're
the cockatrices. There was that one list that people were spamming cockatrices.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were sitting there going, right, if we only nerf Dragon Ogres, people will just take cockatrices. I don't think that was ever going to happen. And most of the time, people just summon them anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're quite a cheap summon.
So. Yeah, they summon them just as to fancy a D6 mortals. Yeah, I'll just get a cockatrice on the board. That's fine. Okay, moving on. I think this is going to be a quick one. Hedonites of Slaanesh, Demonettes down 20, Glutos down 30, Fiends down 20, and Slangor Fiendbloods down 20. I'm voting miss on this one.
Yeah, like I think that I've been playing a fair bit of Hedonites of Slaanesh on TTS recently, and I actually think they're a really good army. I think that they're much better than their win percentage would look like.
I would agree.
You need to play them kind of different to like how most armies function.
Yeah.
Lean into their summoning points quite a bit. So they are okay.
Yeah.
But this change doesn't really affect list building because you need the shooting units to be able to get your depravity points. So you're not really in a position to remove any of the shooting units that you've got in favor of something like Demonettes.
Yeah.
So maybe it helps you sneak one unit of Demonettes in to be 30 points cheaper than, say, a unit of Blissbarb Archers or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, Glutos. Go on, sir.
No, all I was going to say was, you kind of said the last thing as well, like, so the cockatrice points going up may not really affect because people just summon them. So the Demonettes, I think most people probably just prefer to summon
them.
Just summon.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was playing, was it Phil's Slaanesh on TTS as well, and within a turn or two he summoned 30 Demonettes, like a block of 30 Demonettes, where he was getting reroll charge into my back lines, and it was like, I think that's where people are going to be seeing the value of these scrolls, but not in this. Not in this. No. None of these units are being taken. And, okay.
So I think Glutos could be.
Glutos, I think, could see play. He's nice. I think he's good. And so, him dropping the points is I think, is decent. But I just don't think it's that impactful on the army and how it plays.
I've seen a few people talking about taking a unit of 6 Fiends, but if we're talking about what does that do for a list, it's 40 points less. What are those 40 points going to get you?
Yeah, what are they gaining you? Yeah.
Not really anything in the way of the list being like a meaningful change. The Glutos change, again, maybe changes you having to run that unit of Demonettes. Maybe now they can be a unit of Blissbarbs or something with the extra 30 points. Possibly. Like, that's the only kind of changes to the list. It's minimal, but I think that they're in a good place anyway. I think people just need time to adapt to that playstyle. Unfortunately, at the moment, with everything being bounty hunters and stuff, and the core of their army basically all being
galley vets,
they're not really. They have no staying power.
Yeah, they just explode.
The last game I was playing, I managed to shoot a unit of 6 of the new Sylvaneth bugs down to 3, and then I shot one off in Overwatch and Unleash Hell as well, and then what was left just merked a whole unit of 30 Blissbarbs. Just overkilled them, just gone.
Oh my god.
So, they just, because they're bounty hunters, they just took them all off clean. So,
and then just healed some guys back as well.
Yeah, in a non-bounty hunter environment, that would have been half the unit basically still alive after that, and it would have been a
Yeah,
great trade. But
yeah.
yeah, I think for the time being, they're going to kind of stay where they are.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Sounds good, man. Before we get on to Magican, and that is quite interesting, I think. We've got a couple of latecomers. We've got Mr. John Bayliss himself, who we were just
Oh
talking about.
God.
Clearly, his ears were burning. And we've also got Raphael Colban. So John is asking, just joined to hear the end of Bok. I hope you didn't diss my beloved Drogers. No, your Drogers are still absolutely fine, mate, and I'm sure you're going to smash everybody up at this tournament you're going up to next. It wasn't enough, not enough change to Bok, so you'll be absolutely fine, mate. Don't worry. And then Raffle, yeah, kind of much the same. There is some change to Seraphon, but we think they'll be still absolutely fine. Just trim about 100 points off your list, and you'll still be one of the best armies in the game. Don't worry. Right, moving on. Maggotkin of Nurgle. Ooh, okay, so let's get into
Lots
this.
of
Right.
red.
So, yes, lots of red. So we've got Lord of Afflictions up 20 points, Bloab Rotspawn up 20 points, we've got Orgot's Demon Spew up 20 points, Puskull Blight Lords up 30 points, and then the single up 15. So it's just maths, two
Yeah.
15s is 30 and one is 15. So yeah, we've seen a wee bit of kind of tickling of some of the the main three guys writing this stuff. What are they called? The
The Magath Lords.
Magath Lords. Yes, we've seen two of them
Yeah.
tickled. We've seen the Blight Lords, which, as we know, it's what is the preferred term? Is it bees or flies? I can't remember
Flies.
which one it is. Flies, sorry. So that's fine. And then yeah, Lord of Afflictions up 20. So I think, in terms of doing what this is designed to do, I think that this is a hit.
Yes. Big
Yes.
hit.
Yeah.
It's not impacted the power of the army that much. I think that if you're looking at them, I think people were saying that they've had like a consistent 60% win rate for
Wow.
this season, like since
Okay.
GHB, like that fly version of the list anyway.
Yeah. Which is that's
list is now
that's
just
the most
two less
impressive
flies.
list. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most
So
impressive list, and it's, as you say, two less flies. Yeah.
two less flies. People were already experimenting. There was loads of different versions of the list. I've been working on 3 of my own Maggotkin lists, and what I love about it is that it's 250 points for Blight Lords, it's 250 points for Blight Kings, and it's 125 points for the Rotbringer Creed. So 20 of them is 250 as well. So when it comes to building lists, it's like just slot something out, slot something else in. If you want to get your extra points, you can swap one of them for Plague Bearers, which leaves you with like a bit of wiggle room for different things. I think that Maggotkin of Nurgle are still a really strong army. If you want to play the fly army, it's a little tiny bit weaker, 2 less flies. You can run the same amount of flies if you want to change your heroes. I think you can still run 14 if you want to run 2 Lords of Afflictions, or if you want to run Be'lakor or one of the Magath Lords, it's 12 flies.
Okay.
Still a lot.
That's still
And they
a
still
lot.
pre-game move 8. You can still deep strike them with Lord of Afflictions. Some people are counteracting the points increase by changing Lord of Afflictions to Harbinger of Decay. It's 90 points cheaper than the Lord of Afflictions. It's still immortal, 3+ save.
Yeah.
And
That's
you
the
can give it
guy
the same
on the guy on
artifacts.
the horse, right? Yeah.
The guy in the horse, yeah. So
And that was a list that I played recently. It was Will Cruikshank's Broken Realms,
played
and
it as
his
well.
was his
Yeah,
was
he had it.
Be'lakor, Hunters of Flies. He had, I think, 1 unit of Blight Kings, and he had the wee what was it, Harbinger of Decay, which was
Harbinger of Decay, yeah.
absolutely fine because I couldn't get to him anyway, and he just ran him up, got him right in amongst the thick of it with that helm or whatever it's called that just turns off command abilities.
Overpowered stench.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
overpowered
it
stench,
stops,
that's right, yeah.
stops you receiving a command ability if you're within it stops you from issuing a command ability if you're within 7, and stops you receiving one if you're wholly within 7.
Is that right?
And if it's a big unit that strings out, so you can't get wholly within 7, the Harbinger of Decay also has the ability where on a 3+ at the start of the combat phase, you can't receive a command ability.
Oofed.
So he's got loads of ways to kind of hammer home that effect,
Yeah.
which is quite good.
Yeah.
So I honestly think Maggotkin of Nurgle are still going to be just as good. You can either just keep forcing it with the exact same list minus 2 Bs, or like I've been looking at the Filthbringer lists as well, where you run the Coven of Sorcerers and you spread the disease.
Yeah.
That list has only been touched marginally. I think Liam has been playing it recently. That list has changed where you change one unit of 5 Blight Kings to 10 Plague Bearers, and it's the exact same list.
Yeah.
So
There we go.
I think they're good.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely still good. Liam T in the chat is saying the problem with Maggotkin changes is that they only focused on the strong list. They did nothing to make other parts of the book playable. Blight Kings and some heroes are still overcosted, is what he thinks. I would disagree with Blight Kings. I don't think they're overcosted at all.
I think there's multiple ways to play this book. I think that the one thing that needed a points reduction to see more play was the Great Unclean One. But I've seen lists that have done very well with like 2 or 3 Magath Lords and spamming Beasts of Nurgle as well. Like that list has done really well early, and it's been seen more play now since the points change as well.
Yeah.
And then, as I say, the Filthbringer list is still really good. Like it's still a really good army. And then the Bees army is just as good as well. Like I think that because the Bees list was so good, the other lists weren't getting the same high skill player attention.
Yeah.
So if you're like a top tournament player and you're looking at what Nurgle list to play, you were going to take the Flies more often than not because that was the most efficient list. Now that they are on a bit more of an even keel, you might see people looking at the Filthbringers or the Beast of Nurgle, which has been largely unchanged.
Yeah.
So no, I think that it's fine. I think that if they put Blight Kings down now because they're galley vets, and then it comes round and they're now no longer going to be getting hunted by bounty hunters, I think that they would be too cheap. They're still 21 wins with 4 up, 5 up.
Yep, and they put out a lot of attacks as well.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's Maggotkin. Right, let's speed up a wee bit here because we're kind of running short of time. We need to get in the FAQs.
Sure.
So, Skaven, we've got Doommeal, Deathmaster, Lord Screech Vermin King, Verminlord Corruptor, and Verminlord Warpseer, and Vermintide, which is the end of spell, all receiving points decreases. Some of them by 10. I don't know what you do with 10 points. But some of them 20, 20, 25, and then 20 for the Vermintide. I think this is a miss. I don't see any real change to the faction here.
I feel bad saying it's a miss because I don't think they really needed any change. I think the internal balance is always going to be the way it is until they reduce Storm Fiends.
Yeah, so, no, that's a fair cop. I think Thankful
increase them.
Thankful, Storm Fiend, Storm Vermin, I think all still the mainstays of that list. So don't see any change here. Next, Flesh Feck, one dear to my heart. The Royal Terrorgeist and the Royal Zombie Dragon both down by 20 points. Don't care.
Don't care either.
They're terrible scrolls, and I don't think we'll see play. So moving on.
What did they change though? Like, what did they actually change in Feck to make them better?
Give them a whole new book. I don't know. I mean, there are some armies in here, right, that aren't going to see meaningful changes in points. They're going to need entire new scrolls and rules. So this is one of them. So nothing. Next, we've got OBR. So Mortek Crawler, Gothazar Harvester, Immortus Guard. They saw the biggest one of the biggest decrease, 25 less on them. Morghast Archai down 25. Morghast Harbingers down 20, and the Stalkers. Did nobody tell GW that the Stalkers? Oh, sorry. So I know there's no point talking about this because OBR are the worst army in the game, but let's just say that let's just live in a world in which they actually have some play, because Bill Sousa did take a Stalkers list and went 5-0, I believe, at a recent tournament. So these guys have got some play, and the fact that Stalkers list has now come down in points is pretty cool as well. So I think this is a hit. I think it's fine. I think that
this is a hit for all the reasons that Seraphon is a miss. So they've put the points reductions on units that you take multiple of, whereas on the Seraphon they've put the points increases on stuff you just take one of. So this does add up to like a meaningful difference, like a full big unit.
Change.
Which is good. I think that as you said, Bill Sousa has been doing well with them, and I know a few people that have been playing that list recently or versions of it, and it looks really good.
Been trying it out. Those Stalkers, man, what a scroll! Everything they can do. I like the Harbingers as well. We've seen some play, not as good output as the Stalkers, but they've got that 3d6 charge, and stuff like that as well. The Immortus Guard to give you maybe a wee bit of hero protection. Crawlers decent, and Harvester. We'll touch on the Harvester a bit later on, because he's got a wee bit of jank happening as well. But yeah, all good things. Liam T says Bill Souza list shouldn't be recorded on Metastats because Bill Souza is Bill Souza. Yeah, I mean, he could probably take any army and can go 5-0, absolutely. But we do have to mention it because it's definitely good. It's good information to be out there. Right, next we've got Soulblight Gravelords. So the Terragation Zombie Dragon, no point even talking about that. White King and White King on Skeletal Steed both came down. We've got the Bloodseeker Palanquin and Neferata is down 20 as well. So Stu West will be happy. Neffy's down. Happy days, mate.
Asking for basing instructions for a Palanquin earlier today, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Coven Throne. It might have been the Coven Throne.
Could have been. I mean, there's the three things: there's Coven Throne, Palanquin, and the Mortis Engine. But yeah, again, I don't think massive changes here. In general, I mean, the White King. I used to run the White King on Steed. He was a nice wee general to give you out your buffs. He had a 3-up save, 7 wounds. He was fast, and he makes a Graveguard battle line. So I don't know if you fancy that, but yeah, I think again, not that fussed. Moving on, Gloomspite Gits. We've got a lot of changes here, so everything's down. Everything, bye now. So shooters, stabbers, mangler squigs, Skitterstrand Arachnarok, Dank Hold Trog Boss, Scragrot, JP will be happy. He's down. Loon Boss of Mangler Squigs, Web Spinner Shaman on Arachnarok Spider. So we're hitting all the spiders. Spider Riders are down as well, and Squig Herd are down as well. So again, not sure how meaningful. I want to give this kind of like a middle, like a not great but not bad. You go double thumbs up on this, Nathan. Double thumbs. Okay, right. Talk to me. Keep it brief, but talk to me why it's a double thumbs.
So they were already good. Like the last changes that they got were actually still already good.
Okay.
I think that this is one of those ones where the people that play Gloomspite Gits are not the people that you're worried about playing at a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's lists here. I've been looking at lists today. I've been annoying JP by sending them poorly formatted lists today.
Yes.
And like I think that there's some real game to Gloomspite. Like I think that if you look at the changes to like what this means for lists, some lists are coming down by 120 to 200 points.
Okay.
We have had 5-0 Gloomspite results this year, and a lot of it was Squigherd and Kragnos.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah.
Like Squigherd came down 20 points, and there's 72 wounds for 30.
Okay. See those.
And they've got a 4-up rally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any of those 5-0 lists, I was just going to ask, any of those 5-0 lists, did they include?
No, it wasn't Bill Souza.
Well, I was going to say no. But did they include Kronspine as well? No?
They didn't include Kronspine. So the two lists were Squig-centric. One of them was all the Squigs and Kragnos, and the other one was a Jaws of Mork list.
Yeah.
They were all before Bounty Hunters. So they are susceptible to Bounty Hunters. That's the one thing that they do struggle against. Yeah. But it's really only a handful of units in Bounty Hunters that can actually chew through 72 wounds.
Yeah.
And then because the unit's so big, they come out of engagement rage when you do the damage to them, and then they get a 4-up rally either once or twice, depending on how the turn goes.
Yeah.
So, and then if you're thinking about, well, did any of those lists include the Kronspine? The points decreases that they've had are so significant that they can include an old points Kronspine and more. Like extra stuff.
Yeah,
like they can include a Kronspine and a Purple Sun as if it hadn't had any points changes.
Yeah.
They've got good casters that have +1 to cast, get +1 to cast in the Light of the Moon. If the Light of the Moon is on their opponents, they're -1 to unbind and -1 to cast as well, I think. So when it comes to magic and playing around endless spells, it's not an obvious easy. I would say it's Head and Knights of Slaanesh good. Okay. Like you need to play the game in a certain way, but I honestly do think the Gloomspites could do well.
Cool. I'd love to see you take Gits to a tournament, mate. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see you take. I mean, and to be fair, you could just, if you wanted to as well, just put out an insane amount of wounds, right?
Yeah, yeah,
onto the
well
table
over 200.
and
Yeah,
just outgrind your opponent, especially with the 4-up
yeah.
rallies as well, as you're saying, so that there is options there also. But yeah, okay, you're making me feel a wee bit better about it.
Like if we're
Um,
looking at being in that kind of 50% place, I think
mhm.
they're there.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? With
okay,
these changes at
and it
least.
helps, yeah. And as you say, it's a lot of changes, and it's two like actual sizable units as well that you're going to see multiple discounts
Yep.
on. So no, that's good. Okay, so Gits, good news for Gits. We then go on to Auric War clans. They're bigger cousins. So we've got the Kilbo down 20, Gut Rippers down 20, Killaboss on Great Initiative down 20, Wargog Prophet up 20. It's not enough. It's not enough, Nathan. It's not enough. I don't forget. I hate Wargog Prophets. Gobsprak, Mouth of Mork rather, down 20. The Kill Boss on Corpse Ripper Vulture down 20. Snatcher Boss
Yep.
on Sludge Raker Beast down 25. Swamp Boss Scumdrake down 30. And then we've got the Savage Big Stabbers up 20 and the Savage Boarboy Maniacs up 10. So,
Yep.
again, I'm undecided on this because I think that the changes that have happened are the correct changes. I think the units that have seen decreases should have seen decreases, and the units that have seen increases should have seen increases. I still just don't know if points is enough to tune this
Yeah.
army up. Like, cool, Gut Rippers are 160 for 20 wounds and a 5-up save now. Like,
They've tried more.
cool.
They have tried more,
Mm-hmm.
so we might see more. But I think what people need to really like, it must feel shit. Pro voice player, right? When your army
Yeah.
had like it got the exact same fanfare as Stormcast when they got all their new stuff.
Yeah.
And then Stormcast have just been rock stars.
Yeah.
And like, where have all the Crow Boys been other
Exactly.
than hanging out in the
Remember when
discount buckets of eBay?
Remember when
But
people were scared of the Bolt Boy lists? Remember when that was
yeah,
like
no,
genuine
exactly.
concern? They were like, oh my god, and now just like, yeah, I've not seen them
So
do
people need to
anything.
remind themselves that the goal isn't to go from where they are to being as good as Seraphon or Beasts.
Hmm.
The goal is to creep forward
Yeah,
into that kind of happy place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that the steps they're taking, so letting the shamans cast a spell and buff a unit for poison, changing Grinning Blades to give them a counter to one of the things that they were weakest against, which
Yeah,
was just having the Bolt Boy shot off before they could do anything.
yeah, that's
And
decent,
now
yeah.
this also, these changes add up to you being able to afford 3 more Bolt Boys,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
that level of thing. So you get a whole extra unit and you get those 2 little changes. It might be enough to get them out of the red zone, like into the kind of happy place, which is
yeah,
like they're you can see they're trying to inch there. So I think it's a hit for Crow Boys,
yeah.
and I think it's a miss for Bone Splitters. So
Yeah, I would agree.
if we were talk if we want to compare the Bone Splitters changes to the Beast of Chaos changes,
Hmm.
Beast of Chaos lists went up, what did we say, about 120, 140 points or something at
Yeah.
most.
Hmm.
My Bone Splitters army went up before including the Cronspine increase like 320 points.
320, wow.
So I was running 28 Big Stabbers.
Hmm.
So that's 14 units. So yeah, 280 points in Big Stabbers,
Yeah,
and then 2 Wargog Prophets, which was 40 points. So yeah, 320, 400 points my list went up.
wow.
In fact, no, I didn't have the Cronspine, that was a different list. So 320 points,
Yeah.
and then one of the versions I had the Purple Sun in it as well.
Hmm.
So that is like a massive change in points, which
Yeah,
adds up to 2 Big Stabbers and a Wargog Prophet
yeah.
being dropped from the list.
There you go.
And no Endless Spell is 2,000 on the
Hmm.
nose.
Hmm. Yeah, so yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
big change for them. We've got a few folk in chat. So Sean apparently is taking Grinning Blades to the event up in Aberdeen at Rias shop this weekend, so that'll be good. I
Yeah.
hope he gets somewhere with that. I think I think that is the. I think if you're going to run them, you want to do it well. I think Grinning Blades is a way to go. It removes the Bolt Boys. It doesn't make them battle line anymore, so it means they can't, not as susceptible maybe to bounty hunters, and they get that outside 12-inch protection as well. So yeah, hopefully see them do well. Right, now that's the real point changes now, okay? Cronspine
Yep.
and Carnot
Hmm.
of Gur up 80 points. Cogs up 30 points. Lock On, Soulseeker up 20. Purple Sun, as we already know, has been up to 90, and Umbral Spell Portal up 10. Now,
Mm-hmm.
was it enough for the old Cron Spine?
No.
I think folk are still going to take them, but people are just going to
I
find
think that
find the space.
because of the type of war scroll he is, if they cared at all about matched play experience,
Mm-hmm.
the Cron Spine should be like 600 points.
Okay.
But they aren't motivated by matched play experience necessarily. They're obviously, and I'm not being cynical in saying they're motivated by sales.
Mm-hmm.
All of the rules and stuff that we're seeing is talking about incarnates. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the new endless spell thing. So we saw all these endless spells coming. So we're gonna see more incarnates down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is an element of cynicism there that yeah they want to sell incarnates
Mm-hmm.
because they've got more coming out. They want them to stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it feels bad to play
Yeah.
against them on the table,
Yeah. I
and
want to
they
know.
could have went a little bit further.
Yeah, I want to know where they got that point. Where did they get the points of 80? I want to know where they got that from. Were they just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm good. We're going to increase it by 20%? Like, is that literally that's all went through their minds? Like, um,
They obviously didn't want to increase it by too much,
mm-hmm.
so that it wasn't seen at all for the reasons that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
But it, like I've played a lot with incarnates and I've played against them a fair amount, and it never is enjoyable.
No,
Um,
it's an
and I
incredible
think
scroll.
I actually think it's going to be worse now. I think the reason it's going to be worse now is that there's going to be some poor souls out there think it's safe, and
Is it safe to
they're
come out?
not they're not gonna worry. They're gonna be, oh, there'll be less incarnates, so
Yeah.
I maybe don't need to worry about the incarnate
Yeah.
coming up as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that incarnate does come up, it's
It's
just
just
gonna
gonna be a
like
bad day.
you're not gonna have the answers yet. Like I
Yeah.
think that it has a chance to be worse than it is now, in the
Possibly.
sense
Yeah.
that there's going to be even more MP. On the spell side of things, I
Mm-hmm.
think that they're good changes
Yeah.
because Zinch, we're just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Cogs was too good for 40.
Possibly even
Like,
still good at 70. Like
no, well, it
full
is still good.
rerolls for an entire army. Like that's
Yep.
huge.
It's
As
just
you
you can only
say.
take three spells,
Mm-hmm.
and you often wanted Cogs plus one of the other big ones as well. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
normally, and both of them going up 50 points in the last couple of months is maybe
Yeah.
enough to go, hang on a second. The
Possibly.
lock on one seems like nothing
It seems like
because I
nothing.
think they basically, like when I played against John, I think that's just he drops Burning Head. Just the
Just put it exactly.
Burning Head's gone and he's still
Yeah.
moving his thankful about the table.
Oh, I
So
was going to say, Thankful's still surfing about on his little locker,
yeah,
way like on his little surfboard. Yeah, so again, it was just a strange one there,
mhm.
and then Spell Portal up 10, which again is just an odd number. Again,
The
I don't
amount
know.
of lists that I've been writing over the last couple of months that were hitting the 2000 on the nose, and I'm like, what I cut to get a triumph.
Hmm.
So now those lists don't even fit.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
just don't exist. Yeah, no,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, that's it. That's points changes. That's where we think it's going to be. We've spoken about whether we think it's impactful enough. There's a couple of factions here we think they've not gone far enough. There's a couple of ones we think, yep, well, like that's good. We've seen some improvements for lists as well, which is good to see. So yeah, so I think we're about nearly an hour in. We want to try and keep this tight. I think if we could very quickly rattle through some of the facts, changes.
Yeah, you pick whatever ones you think are relevant.
Okay, and then
There's
we
only a
can.
handful.
I mean, you say that, but yeah,
There's only a
okay.
handful of relevant ones.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's go through them. So let's talk about Sylvaneth. So this was the one that that dropped just before Battlescroll, right?
Well, it was the same day. I think it's
Right.
they do this every time that they release Battlescroll. There's always like one that gets set up. I think due to time zone differences, they get it wrong and it comes out early.
Yeah.
So their FAQ came out about 4 hours before the Battlescroll or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it came out really at a weird
Came
time.
out first thing in the morning. Like I woke up to the notifications. I was like, oh, it's all out, but it was just
Yeah, somebody hit the wrong timing, I think, for that. So yeah, it was just, I think for them it was just mainly just clarifications, which is good, and then one kind of key change. So the strike and fade thing. So now people will get to fight on death before
Yep.
Sylvaneth get to strike and fade away, which I think welcome change. For that, so Sylvaneth players can't just duck in and out without any sort of repercussions on
It
some
has
certain
some
factions.
ramifications, though. If I don't know if you want to get into it. I don't know
Oh
if John
well, I don't know
Bales
if
is
we've
still
got don't know if we've
watching.
got time. John, I think is still here. Yep, go for it, Nathan.
So, because they've made the distinction between abilities that happen immediately once you've fought
Hmm.
and abilities that happen uh, immediately after models are slain or
Hmm.
removed, they're two separate things now
Yeah.
in the rules. So instead of clarifying it for any abilities that happen immediately after you've fought, happen immediately after casualties are removed,
Hmm.
after a unit has fought, like they basically just need to move the casualties into the fight sequence.
Yeah.
Because they've not done that, abilities like Reapers of Vengeance, where you immediately fight after you've fought, now happen before casualties are removed. Arguably, that's the way it always did work. But now they've made that distinction between the fact, well, the Sylvaneth ability works this way.
Hmm.
All the other rules, like the Terrorgeist fight immediately after they've fought, and now the Bloodthirster one fight immediately after they've fought, they don't include the section about removing casualties. So, like
Yes.
things like Scarbrand, it has ramifications both way. Some people will say it's a nerf. It means that Scarbrand now fights the screens that everybody keeps saying exist in the game, right? Fights the screens,
Yeah.
and then the screens stay there for him to fight again.
Hmm.
Uh, or when you're fighting against a unit of 9 Dragon Ogres, you don't get to remove 6 of them to come out of combat before Scarbrand fights again,
Yeah.
which is much better in my opinion. Um,
Well, yeah, so
so
kind of the rally trick. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like Scarbrand isn't turned on until turn 2, so turn 1 kill all the screens,
Yeah.
and then turn 2 whenever you get him into something they can't pull casualties to break his because he can only fight again if there's enemies within 3.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit broken. Rules as intended. I would like to think that they want to change it to be the way it is for Sylvaneth for everything. But
Hmm.
yeah, rules is written like it's quite clear now. Before it was ambiguous,
Yeah.
and it would come down to a TO to rule it. But I see it now needs to be comp if a TO wants to rule it a different way. Like they need to just say, no, we're going to play it the same way as Sylvaneth,
Hmm.
and accept that the rules are different.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I do love how you've managed to turn this into the Corn and Scarbrand show, Nathan. It's
It's just amazing. I did mention your Flesh Eater course, your beloved Flesh Eaters as
Thank
well.
God, I know.
They can now
Um,
kill all the Dragon Ogres too. I hope you're happy.
Way, very good. Yeah, so cool. And then the only other main change to Sylvaneth is the fact that the Spell Singer ability, they cannot fire end the spells through the trees. So
My God.
no sun through trees, no anything through trees, which I don't think most folk
Oh,
really caring about anyway. They would just probably want to do the Mortal Wound bomb through the trees. To be
nah.
fair,
I played
that's if they
against
can
Phil
even
and
get it
he was
off.
doing it. He threw the vagina tree at me through the woods. It was horrible.
China tree. Love it. So yeah, so that's Sylvaneth. In terms of core rules, again,
Hmm.
there was a lot of it was just clarifications. I don't understand how some of these questions had to be asked. Like, were people genuinely trying to do heroic actions with heroes that weren't even on the board?
Yeah, like there was one even worse than that, and I was on a Discord channel where somebody admitted to being the person that they asked.
Oh my
I think it
God.
was can you declare a unit that doesn't have a shooting weapon to say that it's shooting?
Yes,
Like
and I know
yeah, that was
exactly what they were trying to do there. I know as a KO
yeah.
player now, I know exactly what they were trying to do to get +1 a hit and all missile weapons in a 12-inch bubble just because you've pinged that one thing. And I'm like,
Is
what?
that what it was?
The thing that can't shoot. The thing that can't shoot.
Yeah.
Because I also looked at that as well. Don't get me wrong. I was like, is there
But like
any
I
way to
saw
do
the guy
this?
admit it in Discord being like, yeah, I was the person that sent that question in. I was just like why?
Why? But yeah, just things like, can I do this thing that's impossible? I was like, no, well, no, you can't. But yeah, so I think the one that tickled me was the Wildwoods. So all Wildwood terrain is now the exact same as the Awakened Wildwoods from Sylvaneth, because I know that was that not an argument that used,
Yeah.
was it you and Lee that had that argument at tournament level?
It wasn't even an argument. I just played it the way he wanted to play it, but then I
Right.
found out afterwards that there was a lot of people that didn't play it
Right,
that way.
got you. No, perfect. Yeah, so chat saying apparently Sean McKinney apparently saying that the guy that was about the Cronspine shooting that was Haywo Twitch, I think. that was saying,
Right.
and yeah, so it's funny. And then yeah, John Bayless is saying, Nathan, do you read every FAQ as does this help me kill 9 dragon augurs? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, any other kind of main things here? They had to clarify normal move, run, and retreat again.
hmm
They
Even though
had
the core rules explicitly do it.
cannot believe they had to do that. The coherent thing, you check for coherency at the end of your turn, apparently before you then start removing models, because I believe that somebody was arguing that when you move a model from a unit, it's out of coherency and then therefore has to either be removed or you can't move the unit. Is that right?
So there was ways that you could read the interpretation of the rules that after you move each model in the unit, you need to maintain coherency. Um, and some people were being like kind of hard line, well, you can't move that model. But like I think the thing that blew up on Twitter,
Jesus.
it's a classic case of there's two sides to every story because
Yeah.
I was involved in a lengthy conversation with the villain of
Okay.
that
Okay. Of that piece.
debacle, and
Yeah.
the way that he explained it was that I think that the person on Twitter was getting everybody on his side by talking about this coherency thing.
Right.
But
Okay.
what had actually came up was he had shot a unit with long strikes, and the guy had removed casualties to break his
Mhm.
coherency,
Mhm.
and then he, as the Stormcast player, then charged that unit, having already measured it that there was no way for him to pile in and restore coherency
Okay.
or something, or the way he'd piled in would stop it.
Yeah.
And that was where the argument was coming down to. He
Oh,
was
I
saying you
see.
can't
You can't move
restore the
because you
key.
can't. Right.
So
Which is
there's
fine.
two
That's yeah.
sides to every
Exactly. Yeah.
story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's all good. Yeah.
Um,
No, perfect.
I think that because that blew up, they maybe had to clarify it
They
because
had to.
if you
Yeah.
do look at it, if, like it's almost like you can't move unless you move all the
That's
models at the
you have
same
to
time.
go like that. Yeah, exactly. So no, as I say, on the core rules, just a lot of clarifications of stuff that
Yeah.
I didn't think required clarification, but turns out we did. Yeah. We have that spell effects and an aura thing. Oh, do I need to bring that up, Nathan? Do I need to bring it
No, well,
up?
it's just they've given an actual really good explanation to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody ever wants to refer to it now, there's a good explanation with examples
Yeah.
of what it does. So the thing that I was doing with the corn and the endless spell,
Yeah.
the way I was kind of self-policing it, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
like rather than leaning into the kind of hardcore jank, is the way that it's been accepted to work now.
Right.
So it instead of it being in the middle of a move, it's now when you finish a move.
Mm-hmm.
So for Corn and the Horror Gas, for example, when the Horror Gas is set up, all the units weren't in the range of the effect. Now they are.
Mm-hmm.
So you would roll a dice to see if they are going to ignore that spell effect.
Yeah.
Then the Horror Gas moves away. Because everything was already within range of it, you don't get a roll. And then when you move stuff back into range of it, if it wasn't in range and it finishes its move within range, then you roll a dice again.
Okay.
So slightly different to the way I was playing it, but it kind of works out the same. Like
Yeah.
you can still
Yeah.
farm Blood Tithe now, but now you can
Yeah.
do it with an FAQ to justify it.
Which
And
is
thankfully, it fixes things like what people weren't doing with the endless spells and techless, because now it's when it finishes a move
yes.
and not constantly vibrating for multiple damage.
Going like that, yeah, just
Yeah.
pulsing, I'm still moving it and I'm still rolling dice at the same time. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, so I've got the FAQ, that exact page up on screen just now, just for people to see. They've got a very lengthy explanation there for how that works, and in terms of endless spells coming into and out of range of models and how that then triggers and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely worthwhile to check it out. But yeah, in terms of other things, so Stormcast, they allowed the Lord Imperatant to use his 7-inch charge after he comes out of Deep Strike.
I was playing it that way because I
Yeah,
thought that was the intention of it.
I didn't see any
Like,
issue with it. I think it clearly
I think
just
people were saying it all happens at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you bring him down before another unit, then he wasn't on the battlefield to give that second unit the 7 inches. But this is just much more intuitive.
Yeah,
So,
no, I didn't have an issue with it before, and I think it's just good to clarify.
Yeah.
They've now made it that all the Stormcast endless spells have to be cast by Stormcast wizards, so that removes your stupid croak and slan casting bloody
Elegant.
comets and stuff like that. But no, absolutely. Yep, and then we're saying holy commands can be used by unique or allied units if they have the appropriate keywords apparently as well. So
Yep.
didn't realise that was a thing, so that's pretty cool.
I didn't know either.
Yeah, so there we go. Then we've got the Nagash. Now, I'm just going to bring that up just now. Let's just find any death FAQ, because that is quite interesting. So we've got quite a few clarifications on Nagash and his Supreme Lord of the Undead ability. So this is the one where he can modify how many guys you bring back by like resin models. So they've said, can Nagash use his Supreme Lord of the Undead ability to re-roll one or more dice when using an ability that requires you to roll a dice for each slain model in the unit, such as Rally or the Death Rattle Skeleton's ability? They've said no. So you can't re-roll rallies. Cool. Okay. Can Nagash use...
one to it, though.
Yep. Can he add 1 to the number of slain models for Rally? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So he adds +1 to Rally, but he can't re-roll the Rally. Can Nagash use his Supreme Lord of the Undead ability to add 1 to the number of slain models that are returned to a unit, even if the ability used did not successfully return any slain models to the unit? Okay. So if there's some ability out there anywhere in the AOS sphere that brings back a model, so the ability literally says, do this thing or roll this dice to bring back a model, even if you don't successfully do the ability, he can bring back a model, okay? Enter the Gothazar Harvester from Ossiarch Bone Reapers, okay? Now, we were talking about this before the start of the show, and we don't think it's going to be potentially that game-breaking, because if you want to run Nagash and a Harvester, and then the 310s of Mortek, which is the only number of Mortek guards you're going to fit into the remainder of the list.
I've just added it up. It's 1690 if you include a cheap hero, Nagash, 3 units of 10 Mortek, and a Gothazar Harvester. So you've only got 310 points to play with.
So you could maybe pump 2 of those up to 20s, potentially.
Yeah, like you could take like 140 for each, isn't it? So yeah, you could take 50
Mortek
things, 50 Mortek and
the Harvester, Nagash, and a thing. Okay,
so 30 points for a spell.
Cool, and that's even if you want to take a cheap hero, because you don't have to. You could just take Nagash and just lose out on all command traits and artifacts, stuff like that. But what that effectively does is with the Gothazar is going to trigger, regardless of where you roll the 4 up. So you're guaranteed to bring that guy back, right, from being slain. And then if you do roll the 4 up, you're bringing 2 guys back. So are we just going to see just immovable blobs of Mortek around a Harvester and Nagash?
So you might see somebody try it, and if they go 5-0, they'll fix it.
Yeah.
Or if they come up against somebody that just kills the Harvester.
That's the thing. If somebody can kill a 10-wound 4-up save model,
bad OBR army.
Correct, exactly. So I guess it's just one of those things. Yeah, if you go on a decent enough run and you dodge any sort of shooting or ranged magic, then you could just romp an entire thing. But yeah, surely this shouldn't work like this. How did they not catch this?
I don't know what they were trying to fix that's let this through the door, but I really don't think it's going to be a problem. Like, it's good for people to know that it exists, so that when they do come up against it, they just kill the Harvester. It's going to be really bad if you've not got an army that can deal with it.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty bad, right?
Agreed. No, absolutely. So if you can't deal with this, it's just going to be.
I think they'll fix it. Like the next time an FAQ comes out, they'll just change that. Yeah. They'll just say, "Does this work with the Gothazar Harvester?" No.
Yeah. No, that's good. Hopefully. And then the last one he says, some abilities such as Invocation of Nagash can either heal or return slain models to a unit. If I use that ability to heal, will Nagash's Supreme Lord of the Undead ability still trigger? No. Yeah. So he doesn't do heals, he does reses, but he doesn't re-roll the rally. He adds +1 to the rally. If there's any ability that brings a model back, it just happens. Yeah? Cool.
He's almost dead in the lore. So why is he still relevant?
Why are they trying to resurrect him? Yeah, exactly.
We'll hang out with Arcan.
Exactly. Some other things as well. I'm not going to go over the Skaven one. That was just some main clarifications. They did remove a kind of a move bonus with them. With it was always 3 claw steps ahead type thing, but I don't think it's pointless. War clans, tireless trackers. Oh, thank God. Bone splitters. Thank the baby Jesus. You cannot move the same unit multiple times.
I feel as if they've just FAQ'd me.
We did it. Thank God somebody's out there.
But this is the thing, right? They actually validated me by doing that. The fact they've had to answer the question that everybody was just rolling their eyes and being so obvious. I'm hanging out with the guy that asked if he could shoot the unit that can't shoot.
Mate, they validated the guy who asked if he could do heroic action with a hero that's in reserve. Right? It's not even on the board.
Look, I got almost a full page of FAQ dedicated to me with that endless spell change, so...
That's just a love letter from James Workshop to you, Nathan. So we've always talked about the Swamp Colosseum can do both. Nurgle, decent wee thing here. Even if you can heal the disease points off a unit, even if they're at full health, which is kind of cool. KO, so this was quite dear to my heart. So there was clarification on the collector command trait. You used to be able to do some kind of fun shenanigans where you put a spell in the bottle on the chemist with collector, you give the crap artifact to somebody else. You now can't do that. If you want to run a skyport, you have to go double chemist in order to get spell in the bottle, at least. Or if you want to go single chemist, you have to be in a non-skyport, like your own custom one, to then select spell in the bottle, because you're always going to get dumped on. Your general has to get given the first artifact from your skyport. So that's kind of it might not seem huge, but it's kind of big because it just means you're now lumbered with a second chemist, and you were only really taking one for spell in the bottle anyway. So there we go. We've then got further clarification that models in a sky vessel can't contest objectives, even though it was on the scroll already. I don't get why we needed further clarification on this. A funny little rules jank that I didn't even pick up on or even know about. So apparently some people were playing that if you charged the sky vessel with a garrisoned unit into a shooting unit that unleashed hell, they couldn't unleash hell because technically they would have been in range of a second unit, the little garrison unit inside the sky vessel. Rules is written, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like, but no, they've said no, that doesn't count. Even though for all rules, intents and purposes, the garrisoned unit is treated as being on the board. For that, they're not. So yeah, I think a very welcome change. And whoever was running that, whoever was playing that, like, hats off to you, man. If you were getting away with that, that's hilarious.
Why do they get hats off to them and me multiple move and tireless trackers as like the villain?
Because we hate you, Nathan. You are the villain. You are the pantomime villain who's creeping behind everyone. Like, what am I gonna do now? So that's fine for KO. Deepkin, not much. They just clarified that in Floodtide you can't run and shoot and charge. Okay, so that was fine. I don't know why that needed clarification. Like the way it was worded, I think it was fine. Blades of Corn, let's talk about your boys here. They had to clarify, was this you again? They had to clarify that you have to spend the Blood Tithe points in order to use the Blood Tithe ability. Somebody actually asked, do I have to lose points to use the thing? And I was just like, why did that need clarification? Somebody out there saying... It's
been out for like 3 years.
Somebody out there getting Blood Tithe abilities and not spending Blood Tithe points for them.
I know.
Oh my god.
They've still not fully clarified everything with Blood Tithe abilities. Like they've kind of fixed the Unbind one to say that can now only be used once per hero phase.
Yes, again, the spell eater curse.
But they've almost because they've omitted to mention the other Blood Tithe abilities. It's almost as if they're different and could be used more. Because there was people I've played it both ways depending on how my opponent wants to use it, whether or not you can use more than one ability per hero phase. Because it does seem ambiguous depending on the way that you read the rule. I think they still need a bit of clarity there. 100%. They should just make it the same as the spell being the Unbind one.
That's true. So that's your blades. That's how much they got touched. Beasts of Chaos, they changed the devolve spell on the Bray Shaman scroll they had to change it to just normal move just to be in keeping with the vernacular. But they do get all the new Zangor scrolls. They get access to them. So any Beast of Chaos Zangor, so that's Enlightened on Disc, Zangor, normal units and Skyfires, they all get the Zangor Shaman. They all get the new updated Tzeentch ones, which very good for them. They get access to them. And we've already spoke about the Primal Roar Monsters Rampage as well. What else? OBR, again, I don't think much. The Protection of the Gash spell has to be unbound once you set up your model, or if it gets unbound if the model can't be removed and set up. So for example in Battle Lines Drawn, which we didn't touch on because that's in the GHB bit coming on, but we will talk about that. So OBR not much, LRL not much, the GHB, so you can garrison in Battle Lines Drawn, which I did think was fine. I thought because you're not setting them up you're not removing them to then set them up later in the game. because they're still technically counting as on the board.
They're
But
considered to be on the board, even though the rule says remove them from the
yes,
table. That
yeah,
was where the trouble was arising, wasn't
yeah,
it? The
yeah,
fact
hundred
that it's
percent.
like
The
you
word,
have to
yeah,
remove these from the table.
yeah.
But
But I
no, it
think,
makes sense.
yeah, but I think for me, like the removal was fine, but it was then later in the sentence that says
Set them up
to be
again.
set up
Yeah.
later in the game. So yeah, so that's been clarified. You can garrison absolutely fine in battle lanes drawn, but any other
Hmm.
things that would allow you to be removed and set back up. So any teleports, KO, sky vessels, flying high, all that kind of stuff. Nope. Quite nice here as well. Expert Conquerors does work for holding terrain. Again, I don't know if that did that need qualification because it says you can test terrain the exact way you can test objectives. So
Correct.
I
Yeah, I
don't know,
think that
like
there's still people asking the question about whether or
mm,
not you can contest an objective and a piece of scenery at the same time.
right, okay, fair enough. Oh
So
yes, that's a good shout. Yeah, no,
yes, we
absolutely.
need to. I'm
Need to
pretty sure
clarify that.
it's going to be no,
Hmm.
but if it is no,
Hmm.
then you can kind of get baited into not contesting objectives,
That's
I
true.
guess. Like
That's true. Yeah. Do you want to do desecrate the lands? You know. I'm just saying.
exactly, like if
So
it's on an objective and you're
yeah.
trying to contest that, then you lose your objective point.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And then Gaze of Gar has got clarified. So all these people out there that were saying that a Gargant is technically one model, so you decrease it by half and then rounding down, so that's 0 models. They don't get any sort of contestability. It's totally just a fallacy. So it's you just count up how much the unit is worth on an objective, then you half it. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, so Gargants, they're mightier makes rightier. If they're worth 20, they're worth 10. It even says that in the commentary, which is good.
Does it
Okay.
make any reference to the Knights of the Empty Throne one? Because I think that that's a similar ability where people were either rolling one dice for the Gargant
Got
or
you.
they would have to. So now they would need to roll
Hmm.
a number of dice for what the Gargant counts as
Hmm.
and reduce it by that number. So a bit more bookkeeping.
Yeah, no, which is fine. We've already spoke about the Ragnarok Spider changes as well. And then last but not least, my babies, my ghosties, Night Hunt. So Cruel Gas doesn't stack anymore. Oh, sad face. So
Good.
no more reducing damage by 2 or 3 or 4 if you want to take 4. But yeah, it's fine. So Cruel Gas doesn't stack. I think that's fine. I think everyone saw that
That's
change
just for
coming.
Annihilators.
I think everyone saw that change coming in a mile away. I know I did. So my list only has one Krulgas in it now, which is fine.
Yep.
And then Banshees, some changes to that. So just more clarification. I think most people were playing it this way at tournaments anyway. So Banshees cannot do that multiple unbind ability that they do against any sort of area of effect type abilities. If like multiple units are getting picked or a unit's getting picked multiple times, you only get one shot at the actual dispelling of the spell once it's cast, but not like the against the multiple effects like in an area. Okay, and same for if you've got like a spell that can target multiple units multiple times that are all within the Banshees, wholly within 12 kind of order. There, you're not getting multiple bites at that. At being
You get
able
one
to
attempt
remove
to
that.
unbind it. If you
Correct.
fail it, then you
That's it.
just need to eat it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You need to eat it. So that's fine. And then they put in here just another thing that their spell eater's ability to just kind of eat, and then the spell that triggers before the end of spell triggers. Yeah, so they can eat it, get rid of it before it actually has an effect. And that's it. That's it. That's the battle scroll.
Cool.
That's the facts. Yeah. So as we say, a lot of changes, a lot of good clarification, which is nice. Maybe some more still to come, and some clarifications that I didn't realise were required. But the community were needing it, so that's fine. So, what's your thoughts, Nathan? Overall, what do we just very, very simply, do we give the battle scroll and the FAQs as an overall? Are we giving it a thumbs up? Are we giving it a thumbs down? Are we giving it a somewhere in the middle? What do we think?
Yep. I think that if it had come out when it was expected to, so on that 3-month time scale that they kind of committed to, which I suppose they barely delivered by saying it will be out in October and it
Yep.
came out in October.
And
I
can
would have been like that.
yeah. But can I also just say that that not only because like in another game system 40k, we're also late for theirs as well. So they've said we're going to do this, and they didn't
Yep.
deliver. Right. So right off the bat, people are going to be a wee bit annoyed, a wee bit
It's
peeved about
ambiguous
that.
with what they said. They didn't say it was going to come out in 3 months, i.e., 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
They said it was going to come out in 3 months. and it did come out within 3 calendar
Yes,
months.
that's
Like
true.
if we didn't include the month they said that in.
Yeah.
So, like, because I think the book came out June, and then we had July, September, July, August, September, and then it came out in the following month. Um, so
I like your words lawyering there, Nathan. That was good.
yeah, like I think that they barely managed to do what they said
Yeah.
they do, right? So
Yeah,
fair
barely.
enough.
But anyway, yep. So as you were saying, yep.
Because like I'm looking at the date now, it's 3rd of November, and they've told us we're getting a new GHB in the new year, presumably January. So
We could presume.
it's not enough, is it?
No, I don't
There's only
think.
really one full month of tournament play,
Yeah.
really. Like there isn't any major events happen in December. There's only a handful, but
Yeah, I think
we're
that.
coming into this time, so
Yeah, I think it's frustrating. I think as well because if you are a tournament player, you've now had to basically download all these new kind of rules, all these new changes to abilities, clarifications on things that you just might need to, wrap your head around for something that is not going to be that impactful.
I would urge everybody to hold off on any rash purchasing for this. When we take into account that we're going to get a new GHB in the new year that's likely going to be as different from the one that we just had.
Yeah.
So don't be looking at anything going, ooh, like I'm going to get some longevity out of this because it's all going to get flipped on its head in a couple of months. So
Yeah.
That's why for me I think that it's a miss. I like that they're making small changes, and I like that they're doing it more frequently. I just think that they were a bit late with this one.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd agree. Bit late to the party, and yeah, we're maybe not even going to see the impact of any of these changes at all. Yeah, I would agree. Okay, well, not to sound too down in the dumps. I mean, there is some changes in there, as we say. There could be some nice, fun new lists out there due to some of the points decreases on some of the factions and some of the changes within those factions as well. So, could see some cool stuff out there. I can't wait to see Sean's full spider army, his big Ragnarok army. Make it happen, mate. But yeah, so that takes us to the end, folks. So thank you so much for watching. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed. We've tried to and keep this one a wee bit tighter to just make sure we're hitting on the main points and getting the correct relevant information out to you guys. So yeah, so huge thanks to our sponsors, tabletopminis.co.uk. He's having a tournament, a wee one there this Saturday, and there's a lot of people. There's quite a few folk going up. There's I think 14 signed up, something like that.
A lot of the Six Nations squad going through.
That's true. Going up some reps. Yeah.
From the west. So
yeah, and I know that 14 might not seem like a lot, but in terms of the size of your shop, and I think the last tournament that was there was maybe like 8 people at, and now we're seeing that nearly doubled, which is just awesome to see. That's great.
The scene through in Aberdeen was like almost the same size as the scene from through our way, and it's dwarfed of late with the kind of Glasgow crowd coming out.
That's true.
Now seeing them kind of grow again is really encouraging. It's good.
That's great. And as we say, yeah, a lot of the Six Nations guys for Team Scotland. I can't make it up, unfortunately, but yeah, they'll be going up to get some good last minute reps, which is good to see. So thanks. I'm sure he'll do well with the tournament. And I don't think he's playing in it. I think he might just be running this time. We had too much fun with his Hell on list last time. He also won his last tournament as well, so he can't do that 2 times the trot. You look like a very bad man. So that's fine. Thanks to the patrons as well. So we've got JP Gannis, Craig Graham, Karen Newby, and Scott Smith. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And thank you, Nathan, for joining me again tonight. I know you're a busy man, so it's I very much appreciate your time. And yeah, that's us. So anything we'd like to say before we sign off?
No. See you all next time.
Catch you guys next time. And yeah, please remember to answer the call. Thanks very much, guys. Good night. Bye-bye.